to get to know me, you would never think that I do what I do for a living.
Correct, correct.
But then as soon as you know what I do for a living, you start treating me different. I don't change.
Yeah.
And that's the sad
Definitely,
part about
definitely.
it.
I agree. I agree totally. All right. So,
Okay.
so I guess let's start with, kind of your childhood,
Well, it all started in the 70s. No, just kidding.
your upbringing.
My upbringing.
Yeah.
So I have a pretty normal upbringing. My dad was a Marine, state trooper. My mom's a therapist. So I came from a professional middle class home. I have an older sister, and then it's me, and then my brother, and my little sister. And I mean, like I said, we pretty much grew up pretty normal. I mean, out of my siblings, 3 of us are college educated. So there's not really any weirdness or anything. When people ask me, like, what happened to you, because something always had to happen to me for me
Correct.
to do what I do for a living. And I kind of, I sat on that for many, many years. I even went to therapy to try to figure out, I don't feel like there's anything wrong with me, but everybody keeps telling me there's something wrong with me for me to have done what I did. So I try to figure out what was wrong with me. And I think what I assessed initially was that, I didn't experience any, sexual abuse or trauma or anything like that. But my father was he was the definition of Marine law enforcement, like strict. I mean, our punishments were basically Marine punishments, get up at 4 in the morning and make us run. And, those were punishments,
Bed needs to be made.
Yes. So I have the discipline of a Marine.
Got it.
So that is, as an adult, I look back and I think, that was horrible as a kid. But as a female, full-grown adult, I realized how I utilize that now and how beneficial it's been to me, because my work ethic is just amazing. Because of that, I was trained, you know what I mean? So I think what happened with me was I had this itch to be rebellious, because I grew up making the honor roll, doing everything I was supposed to be doing, and listening to these parents that I thought were like the most brilliant people out there, and thinking that everything they said was right. And then they started to disappoint me, when their marriage didn't work, when my dad started cheating on my mom, when my mom checked out mentally. Like, I looked at these people that I thought were just brilliant, and then I realized they're so fucked up. The thing about my family is they're very pro-education, which is good, but it can be bad as well. Not college isn't for everyone, you know what I mean? So I don't push college on my son. If you want to go, go. If you don't, I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? So, but unfortunately in my household, you needed an education. Otherwise, like, you were nothing, So, because I had such good grades and I was in the National Honor Society, and I was the child that was going to I was going to be the doctor, I was going to make it, and I think that's why I got so much of it. But they broke me. This is an example of when you have a good kid and you just put too much pressure on them, too much. I broke.
Okay.
So as I tried to dominate these masculine professions, I went from one extreme to the next. I thought, whoa, wait a minute. I can dominate masculine professions, but in a different sort of way. So of course, I thought, I'm a very pretty girl. So what's another way to dominate a masculine type of world? With your sexuality.
So
Yeah.
So at what point did you kind of say, hey, you know what, I'm a little bit more attractive than my peers, and I know.
Well, I didn't even know it at that point, to be honest with you.
Was it like, hey, somebody gave you some?
Yeah.
You started getting a lot of compliments.
So
or?
I was that girl. I really don't look much different than I did in high school. I've always had glasses. I've always had mousy brown hair. Like, I thought I was dorky, and that was just me. But I did have a nice body. I developed early, all that stuff. My older sister was the one that I blame her. No, just kidding. They were in the process of opening up a Hooters.
Okay.
The Hooters in El Paso, and this was 1987, I believe. I graduated in 1996. And so my sister was like, dude, they're opening up at Hooters. You should go apply. And I was like, they're not going to hire me. Yeah, right. I'm like, right, all dorky. I'm like, there's no way. She's like, just go, dude. Like, you're working at the mall and your car is leaving you everywhere. You're not making any money, dude. Like, just go. So I was like, that's going to get me, like, hopefully out of my grandparents' house, right? So I'll try it. So I go in all nervous, and they hired me on the spot, and I was like shocked. I was like, not even a callback, like on the spot. So I was like, okay. But what helped me out was I started working with a bunch of women, a bunch of 20 somethings. And these 20 somethings were like the girly girls of the 20 somethings. I was a tomboy. I didn't do the makeup thing. I didn't do the hair thing. I didn't know anything. And these girls taught me like how to be, a sexy, beautiful girl. And so I loved them for that, and sure enough, throughout the years in Hooters, it taught me to talk to men, to speak to men. It taught me to flaunt my sexuality. I started to understand how easy it was to make money off of the way that I looked. Mm-hmm. And when you're that young and you get introduced to that concept, it's not very healthy, because you start to become very superficial. It's all ego. It's all, it's all looks. And that kind of started happening is you forget the important things in life. I grew up understanding the important things in life. I was a very lucky individual to be so young and to have the capacity to understand real things in life, the importance, the value of human life, of all of these things. And then I went into this job where all of a sudden it was like, oh, makeup and hair and, and
So kind of going back to that, I mean, I'm guessing working at Hooters, it would depend on a lot about your sexuality and how you can, talk to men or just guests in general. So let's talk about that. Like how beneficial was that working there?
It was amazing. It was great. To be honest, I feel that it was pivotal in my education, in what I actually ended up doing in my education. The reason why I've been so successful in my dancing career, the reason why I'm successful in life in general, as far as how I communicate with people, it was important. I needed those 5 years at Hooters to really build my confidence, because that's what I did not have. My parents did tell me I was smart, but nobody ever told me I was beautiful or I was attractive. And that's superficial stuff, but believe it or not, people need to hear that. I mean, there is a part in every one of us that needs to hear that we are attractive, that and that I didn't get growing up.
A certain amount of value.
Yeah. So that was the part that I was missing from my self-worth, is I did not have the confidence, and Hooters did give me that.
Okay. All right. So so now that you have that confidence and you're built up, what comes next?
Well, so Hooters was a great introduction to my sexual potential, right? So with any restaurant, once the popularity of it kind of fades, it starts to drown, and that's kind of what happened. The money started to go away. And I used to get a lot of strippers as customers that would go in, and females, yeah.
Okay.
And they would tip me a lot. They always had money. They would tip me a lot, and they would always tell me, why don't you try it? And back then I was still very much in the mentality that I grew up with, where I was like, oh my God, no, never, all shocked that they even asked me. But sometimes when you get put in a situation where it's no longer you, I had this little boy, I had this 5-year-old. I never went on welfare, and I never asked for child support.
Single parent?
Single parent. But I was struggling, and we were living in this, studio apartment, which was not in a good neighborhood, and it was getting kind of dangerous. And I never saw him. I was working 6 days a week to be able to pay the rent, to be able to put gas in my car. So I noticed that I never saw my son. And it was just weighing on me. It was weighing on me. And so I thought, I'm not making any money. I'm not seeing my kid. This is not working for me. So I thought, okay, what can I do at this point? So, at that point I wasn't educated. So why go from one waitressing job to another waitressing job? I mean, that
It's
was
going to be the
it.
same thing.
Same thing, So I thought, okay, these girls, I've never been a judgmental person, and they would come in and they all had children, and they were all good girls. I mean, they were good to me, so I thought, you know, I'll just go and see. I'll just go and see. I'll watch. So I went and I visited my customers at their jobs. And I just started to look around and I started to pay attention to how, just the dynamics of the club. And I thought to myself, like, I can do this. Like, it doesn't come
It's not
across
yeah.
the way I thought that it was going to come across. So I thought, I'm going to try it. We'll see what happens, right? So I prepared for it. And then I started at what used to be Prince Machiavelli's, right? This is in the 90s. And my first night, I made $800. And the thing that really that stood out to me was that at the end of the night, I did not feel bad about myself. I did not feel ashamed. I did not feel guilty. I did not feel dirty. I did not feel stupid.
You felt more like accomplished, like, hey, I just made
I was like,
$800
I just made my rent, my car in one night,
in one night.
and everybody was good to me. Yeah, some people were stupid and idiots, whatever, but I've already worked in a bar, so that's just a bar scene. But for the most part, how I felt individually, I did not feel bad, and I just kept going. And then after that, I just, I was renting a house. I had a new car. I was working 3 days a week and I was spending time with my son. I got to take him to school in the morning. I got to do the cupcake stirring lunch for Valentine's Day. And, I got to co-op, be more involved,
Right.
And then I got to pick him up after school. I got to do the homework with him. I got to put him to bed. I got to be a mother. And, people will speak negatively of that profession, but it allows you to be a parent when, things didn't go your way. And that's the thing with me is I'm more about harm reduction than I am about, a lot of people, they will just run you into the ground. You make a mistake and that's it. That's what you're going to be known for the rest of your life. And I don't believe that. You know what I mean? So to me, it allowed me to be a mother, and that was the most important thing for me at that time. So unfortunately, Prince had a shooting incident, so they closed. So I went over to the Parrot. And my first day at the Parrot, like, it was just so welcoming. And again, I felt, to me, it's important to feel safe. I've worked with the same staff for 20 years. They're like my brothers. The girls that I've worked with, they come and they go. But for the most part, it's a comfortable club. And I liked it.
So now you're at the Parrot.
Yes.
So let's go into some of the business side of the profession.
Okay, I'll break it down from the bottom up.
Yeah, how are
Okay.
girls? Well, let's start with how are girls recruited and allowed to work at a club?
They don't really recruit. I mean, it's just a open door kind of policy, I guess. You'll never lack dancers. So that's a good thing. The way that it works is they basically, as a dancer, you're a subcontractor. I don't get a paycheck. I have to file my taxes on my own, yada yada, right? So the way that it works is I basically rent out the stage. So they charge us a floor fee. It varies depending on the time. So basically it's cheaper the earlier in the day. Obviously the prime hours are a little bit more expensive. I typically pay out $45, which is still much less than a lot of other clubs.
So $45
to work.
a day.
Yes.
Okay.
So whenever I go in, I give my $45 and then I'm good for the night. And then basically we have to tip out our staff, which is never a big deal to me because obviously we all work together and we need each other. So that's not a big deal. And then that's pretty much it. Everything you make is yours. And I like that club with the way the setup is because it's so cut and dry. I've worked in Arizona and I've heard things from other clubs where, they take a percentage out of every dance. which doesn't make any sense to me. You know what I mean?
How do you
It
keep
just,
track of that?
yeah, you know, and you have these bouncers like standing around, following you around. I don't know about you, but I don't like to be followed around, whether it's dancing, shopping, I don't care.
That it
You
kind of
know,
messes up your money.
it does, it does. It's like, you know, you've got to be marking things down, and how accurate is that? You know what I mean? Or I mentioned this to you before, where certain clubs, they have t-shirts and they expect you to sell their t-shirt. I'm not a t-shirt salesman, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sell your product. I mean, the fact that I'm there, I'm already selling your product. You know what I mean? I promote for the Red Parrot through my Instagram page. To me, that's pretty good. You're getting free advertisement from me, and I'm presenting your club in a tasteful, in a fun, in a very sexy sort of way. That's all I'm going to do. So don't ever throw a t-shirt on me and expect to sell it, because I'm not going to do that, right?
So going back to what you
Yes.
said, each individual dancer is a subcontractor. So the club itself doesn't promote the dancer
No.
because you guys come and go all the time.
Right, right.
So how do you, I guess, get a following or get clients to come to the club?
Well, this is stripping
You guys-
101. A lot of times girls will start dancing, and then they get upset because they don't make money, or and then they'll stop, or they'll go someplace else, or you know, they'll constantly bounce around. And see, you've got to struggle for a little bit before you build the clientele. You know, it took me a good 2 years for me to get comfortable enough to understand how to build a regular.
Got it. Okay.
My personality is very, very different from the type of personality that I need to have in that club to build regulars. In my personal life, I'm pretty conservative. I don't like small talk. I don't like making new friends. I'm very much an introvert in my personal life, which is very ironic, right? Because in my professional life, I have to be an extrovert. I have to, you know, start that conversation. That's very difficult for me to do. So it took a while for me to learn how to do that. And it's exhausting. And I think that's why in my personal life, I'm very introverted, because that's mentally draining to me. So in my personal life, I need that kind of peace and that solitude. But for me, that's how you build the regular. You know, you have to stay in the same place for a certain amount of time. So when you hear the Red Parrot and you hear Jade, you know, they're synonymous. Like, you know that I'm there because I've been there for 20 years. I've never changed my stage name. I've promoted the same club for 20 years. I mean, I'm one of those faces from that club. Each club has those girls that oh shit, that girl from, you know, this club or that club.
You're kind of the face of
right.
the club.
That's what I am for that club, because of the time that I've put in and because of the way I promote. So that's you have to treat it like a business. That's how I treat it. I'm my own product. Therefore, I'm not going to put out a half-assed product. You know what I mean? Like, I'm proud of the image that I've created. It's not real, you know, so I can tweak it however I'd like, you know, and that's the part that makes it so cool, is that it's not real. So you have this huge, like, you just have this open door to put yourself out however you see fit. I change with the times, you know what I mean? It depends on what's popular, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter, you know, and that's what makes me successful in what I do in that place. It does not make me successful in my personal life, unfortunately, because I've noticed that people have difficulty differentiating what's real and what's not. And if I'm constantly promoting myself as this person, and this is how you know me through social media, this is what you're going to believe, but it's not real, you know?
So I'm guessing staying at the club as long as you have has worked out for you.
Yes.
Now, in I guess other situations, it may not work out that way. Maybe, you know, somebody's at a certain club for too long and they're kind of, you know, old, and you know, people are looking for somebody new and fresh, but that hasn't been your situation.
It hasn't, because again, I'm constantly reinventing myself, and I'm not just talking about my physical reinvention.
Now, is it with like, hey, like outfits, clothing?
Oh God,
or
no,
is
that's child's play. That's a new outfit is not going to reinvent you. Trust me.
Gotcha. Now,
Nobody cares.
or is it with like, hey, I'm gonna come off a little bit more dominating with clients, or I'm going to, be more of a girly girl? I mean,
Well, what happens with me,
what is the approach that you do?
my approach is this. The regulars that I have, people think that men go to a strip club for a pretty face. You know what I mean? And that's not the case at all. I have a lot of clients that go in and they go in to talk to me. They go in to spend time with me. The way that I've reinvented myself is, I have 3 college degrees. I've gone to college, I have a master's degree, and I used to give counseling. So believe it or not, I use those techniques at my job where I listen, I reiterate, so talking to me is not just talking to some girl in a bikini. A lot of times people that have been on the road for a while and they just want to sit down and they want to vent. That's what I am to them, and I offer no judgment. I offer authentic, genuine, listening skills. And I have actual educated advice. You know what I mean?
So you're
like,
doing counseling.
I teach motivation, and coping skills. Like I actually have backup for that training. You know what I mean? So I'm not just
to justify what you're saying.
Right. You know what I mean? So I have customers that appreciate that. I competed for the first time. I've changed my body. In August, I went through 2 competitions. I competed for Sun City and I competed for Supplement Express. I got first place in both for my age class. That's a huge deal for me because I'm 41 years old. So while I was at work, a lot of my customers got to see my body changing. They got to root for me. I was sponsored by 4 of my customers. They bought me that $500, Bling Fitness bikini. They were there, cheering me on. They appreciated the change in my body and what it took to get there. And they got to witness that. So it's like, I become, as fucked up as this might sound, I become almost like their daughter, their wife, their sister, it's like this person that is no longer a stripper that's just hot. It's like they actually care, like, oh shit, what are you gonna do next, Jade?
You feel the void.
Yeah, like I'm this crazy dancer that just keeps doing weird, different shit, but it's healthy shit, So it's like they're not gonna go months from now and they're like, oh, did you hear about Jade? She got fucked up and she got hooked on drugs and oh, poor Jade, she was a good girl. They don't hear stories like that about me. They hear, oh shit, did you hear about Jade? She just graduated with her master's. Did you hear about Jade? She just competed and she won. So my goal is to constantly reinvent myself, but to do it in a way that is just, what the fuck? Like, impressive and motivational and just healthy, good stuff.
So when you have customers that kind of view you as much more than, just a dancer or just for the night, is there maybe like a challenge that you have to remain what they view you as?
Not really, because I think for me, I'm allowing people into my real world. So it's never going to be pressure because it's something that I just kind of do on my own, you know what I mean? So I'm just allowing people to see it. So for me...
so you're not having to play into what they view.
No, not at all.
You're just yourself.
I'm just being me.
Okay.
And that's the best part is that I'm getting paid to be me. Like, hello. So that's pretty cool. And to be honest with you, the regular customers, the ones that go in often, the consistency of that's what's important to me. I really don't care about, Joe Schmo that walks in, once for the first time in his life during a bachelor party and gets 2 dances and I'm never going to see him again. I really don't give a shit what he thinks. I really don't. But to me, to have the comebacks, like I said, the consistency of those clients, they make my world go round. They're the ones that pay my mortgage. They're the ones that paid for my education. They're the ones that funded my competitions, my goals. They are the ones that allow me to live as leisurely as I live. So of course I'm going to be good to them. They're good to me.
Okay. Now, has there ever been a situation in which, clients are, like you said, are viewing you in different types of ways or maybe filling a certain void that they kind of go too far?
Oh yeah, stalkers, you mean?
Well, I mean, that's
we
one
call
aspect.
those stalkers. Yeah, I've had situations where, This is okay. This is the negative part of the job. I've been talking about the positive. This is one of the
Let's hear
negatives.
some stories.
Okay, this is one of
Story
the
time.
negatives. A strip club and a stripper, that typically represents the lowest of the low in the societal pyramid of, of character, correct? Okay, so a lot of times you get people that go in there.
Stereotype. But yes.
So you get people that, you get men that go in there that have this huge ego. And they're gonna go in there because they need an audience. And to them, a stripper she's a stupid, empty void of a girl, stereotype. So it's gonna be easy. You know, you're gonna flash some money in her face and this dumb broad is gonna do whatever you want for that. And that's a lot of times what the approach is for some of these types of men, right? And that's the unfortunate part is when I catch that right away. When you sit there with a person like that, for me, you know, I live below my means. So I never have to do anything I don't want to do. That is very important to me. So therefore, if you come in and I start to notice that you're being a little disrespectful, you know what I mean, then I can get up and walk away. I'm not going to have a boss or a manager go back there and say, Jade, you better go out there. What the fuck? You know, it's not the Players Club. You're not dollar bill. Like, relax.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I have the power to just get up and walk away. And it doesn't matter. I've turned down lots of money before because I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I'm going to go home and feel like shit. That's not the point of all this. You know what I mean? So that's the beauty of the job, is that I can get up and walk away. But yeah, a lot of times guys go in there with this idea of what it's going to be like to talk to me. And I hate to bring this up, but we're talking candidly, right? Because I'm a Latina, that's another huge deal. You get a lot of the Caucasian males, right? that feel the need to go in there and you know, they're looking for that Latina wife, right? And, you know, they think that they're going to go in there, you know, with their money and that, you know, they start telling you. Yeah, and they start telling you how, you know, they want to be cooked for and cleaned and they can take you away from all of this, you know? And then I'm like, well, so you're going to take me away from my independence so you can put me in a house I can cook and clean for you. Oh shit, sign me up. You know what I mean? And I'm like, why would you think that I want that? I'm an educated woman. If I decided to stop this today, I'm a license away from a whole different career. You know, that is something that is very empowering to me. So yes, of course I'm going to come across maybe arrogant to people that don't understand my confidence, maybe bitter, maybe angry. I don't know how a lot of men take it, but I have had that backlash where, you know, I had a gentleman tell me, he put it, how did he put it? He says, you know, yeah, all you ever talk about is your degree. And he was referring to social media, right? And I thought to myself, first of all, that's not true, because if you go onto my social media, there's one mention of my degrees, one. But I understand where that behavior is coming from. You're threatened, apparently, right? And excuse me, but do you understand that, first of all, I'm a minority. I was a teenage mother. I'm a Hispanic woman. You know, yes, I am going to be proud of my degrees because I'm 1% of the population. 1% of the population of female Latin, oh my God, teenage moms go on to get their graduate degrees. So if I want to sit here, if I want to make my entire Instagram about my master's degree, guess what? I have the right to do that. I should be proud of that. So unfortunately, you get those men that want to attack. So that's the downfall of that. But like I said, that's my responsibility as a dancer to understand when people walk in that door. You know, I can't sit there advocating for myself and my fellow coworkers every time somebody walks in the door. Like, that would exhaust me. So at that point, my maturity has taught me to basically tell myself, I don't care what you think about me. Do you want to dance? I don't care if you think I'm the stupidest girl here. I don't care if, I just don't care. Do you want to dance? All I ask is that you watch the way you talk to me. Simple as that. And that's kind of how it rolls in that place.
So what about some of the other girls that aren't as accomplished as you and don't have the options that you have? And you know, I'm sure you've witnessed, you know, a lot of these males that do take advantage of those girls. Can you speak on some of those situations?
Yeah, well, I look at my education as my personal accomplishment. I don't think that I'm more accomplished than anybody else in that place, because there's some women in there that have 3 kids, and this one that is my age, 3 kids, and she's put so far her oldest 2 through college with that career. Single mom. Okay, to me that's more accomplished than me. I have one, and to me that's amazing. Who does that, right? And there's other women in there. I have a coworker that she's an artist, she's an actress, and she's just so talented. And there's so many different individual stories in that place that nobody's ever going to know, nobody's ever going to care about. But to me, each one that I see, is their own just amazing accomplishments, and I envy a lot of, the talent that is in that place, because of, just how wonderful they are. The other girls, because I'm mentally health trained, I don't look at it as they're not accomplished. I look at it more as they've been derailed and they're lost, and we've all gone through that. What I learned growing up is that my biggest mistakes, the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life, was when I listened to what everybody was telling me. Stripping is wrong, Kimberly. Like, you shouldn't be doing that. You need to do this. You need to do that. Oh my gosh. When people on the outside, not even customers, okay, family, friends, boyfriends, when society was telling me that I was lesser than because I chose to do what I did, and I started to let that in, and I started to feel bad about myself, and I was like, oh man, they're right. That's when the huge mistakes happened. And then finally, when I outgrew that and I realized, okay, these people didn't pay for my degree, these people didn't raise my son, these people did not purchase my home, these people do not guide me through life.
Based on their expectations.
Right. Yeah. So why listen to that? And then all of a sudden I started to look at my career. Well, I started to look at dancing as a career, and I started to stop being embarrassed to tell people what I do, or stop hiding it, and start realizing that is a career. You cannot tell me that it's not. People will say, that's not a real job. Holy shit, it's not? Because it sure feels like a real job. Like, you know what I mean?
It's probably a fast track to retirement.
Tell my mortgage company that it's not a real job. Tell my car people it's not a real job, because they're taking my money like it's a real job. I've accomplished everything that as an individual you're told to accomplish. I bought the house, I bought the car, I went to college, I raised the child. I've already done everything that we are supposed to do. I just did it unconventionally. I did it kind of backwards. I did it on my own terms. And I don't know if that's what the real problem is. And that's what creates the animosity, because I didn't do it the way I was told to do it, I guess. Who knows? But I did it. And that's where people struggle in looking at my job and saying, wow, like, the stereotypes are wrong, or you can be successful, or it isn't all garbage in that place. But if you went around trying to prove everybody wrong, you would be the way that I am now, where you're just exhausted and you just don't care anymore,
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So let's go into, kind of like the dynamics of the club. Mm-hmm. You mentioned previously, as far as, the boss and, mm-hmm. Having different club owners or managers.
Right.
So how does that work out with, someone like you that has been in the club, and I'm sure you've seen, management come and go.
Actually, no, it's been the same fucking people.
But how does that work out? Are you guys required to, tend to certain clients' needs that are regulars, or do you get the support from management, from the security staff?
That's one of the biggest reasons why I've stayed at that club specifically for that amount of time. Okay. Again, if I'm going to be defined as a subcontractor, if you do not give me a paycheck, then I'm going to expect you to not treat me like an employee. Therefore, do not follow me around, do not tell me what to do. If I want to go into a shift and I want to stay in the back on Instagram all night long, then I can do that. Nobody's going to go back there and say, what are you doing back here? Go make some money. That's the best part. There's a lot of clubs where management is like that. they expect you to go out there, or they have friends come in and, and they want their girls to go and entertain. It doesn't work that way in my club, and that's why I like it. But we have the owner of the club, we have two managers, and then we have staff, bouncers, bar, two DJs. And like I said, everybody's been there pretty much the entire time I have, you know what I mean? So when I say they're like my brothers, like no exaggeration, like they're like my brothers, you know what I mean? So we've seen each other in every form and fashion, and so it's comfortable, and to me it's safe, and yeah, they leave me alone, and to me that's important. I like to be left alone.
Okay. So the security's there, the comfortability is there.
Yes, yes. And I mean, let's be real. Money talks. I'm not stupid. You know what I mean? In order for my stages to have amazing lights and to have the music that I want, I'm going to take care of my DJs. In order for me to walk out to a vehicle that isn't keyed, or nobody slashed my tires or whatever, I'm going to take care of the parking lot attendant. The same with the bar, the same, just that's the way things roll. You take care of each other. So that's the way it works.
Okay. Okay. How does it work with, new girls coming in? Is there certain expectations for them? How does that work out? So I'm sure there's, you got your office politics, quote unquote.
Well, the beauty of that club though is that their hierarchy is me, and I'm like the sweetest girl ever. Okay. So I'm like the welcome wagon, you know what I mean? So no, honestly, like I feel that I represent our club in a really good way, in a warm way. There's a lot of girls that go in there and they have that standoffish attitude, which is normal because it's a new club. And the way I always reference strip clubs to prison. I've never been to prison, but I gave counseling to prisoners, so I kind of got a little bit of an idea of what it's like, right? But you never know what's going to happen, or how people are going to. Do you want me to stop?
No,
Oh, okay. Or how people are going to treat you.
Correct.
So you're very, you're aware of your surroundings. You're standoffish, yada yada. But I think once you start working there, a couple of days you're in there, and you start to realize that everybody's pretty chill, so you start to get comfortable. And the hierarchy of that place is this, like, I don't even put a lock on my locker. Let's put it that way. Like, when it's the same girls over and over, there's that mutual respect there. You know what I mean? So whenever anything ever goes missing, it never fails. It's always when there's like a couple new girls that have come in from someplace else, and we all know who it is. You know what I mean? So that doesn't work out very long. But for the most part, the usual girls, the usual roster, we do have that mutual respect. And I'm the kind of dancer that I don't think I own anyone. So a customer can go in and say, "Oh, I'm waiting for Jade." He said it, I didn't. You know what I mean? So I'm never going to, get upset if I see a girl sitting with a regular and be like, "He's mine." Like, that doesn't work that way. Like I said, that's more like prison. But yeah, so that's another reason I really like our club, is because it's the friendliest club I've ever been in. So.
Okay. So I mean, you mentioned as far as the different services, you have your normal dances that are on the floor.
This is the difference. Okay, so we have a VIP area, and the way that it works is they'll charge you a $20 entrance fee, but you're good for the whole night. So you only pay $20 once to go up there.
Into the club, or is that into the
VIP area?
Okay.
And the VIP area is basically it's like an elevated seating area with couches in the back.
So you're able to see the floor.
Right, so you're fancy now, right? You're VIP. So it's the status, it's the street cred. No, just kidding. The dances, it's couch dances, so it's more comfortable than it would be downstairs on a chair in front of everybody, which is $10 down there. So that's basically the only difference, is $10 on the floor, $20 dances upstairs. So you pay your fee to go up there, $20, the bouncer takes that, and then you give your dances on your couches, which are $20 a song.
Okay. Okay. So, I guess let's make a shift.
Okay.
What goes into maintaining, I guess, your dance skills? Like, what kind of work do you
Well,
put
that's pretty
in
hilarious. You know,
to
I don't put any work.
where do you get your moves from?
Well, believe it or not, I do.
Do they offer like a was it choreographer?
They don't.
They don't
They
offer anything like
don't.
that?
You're on your own when it comes to
Really?
that. But my recommendation for new dancers is to watch a lot of videos. You know, watch a lot of music videos. Watch a lot of stripper movies. You know what I mean? Like, except for Hustlers, I was very disappointed in that. But anyway, yeah. So for me, I just kind of I did a lot of research. I watched a lot of videos. I love music. So I think for me, what helps me out is that I love music. So I don't even remember that you're sitting there. I'm just so into my song that I'm just into it. You know what I mean? So I don't even think about what's going on. I'm just enjoying myself. So to me, it's easy. I mean, it comes naturally to some and it doesn't to others, but it's pretty much it's the equivalent to, I don't know, you know, when you've gone out and you see the girls that don't know how to walk in heels and then you see the ones that do. You know, a woman can be very beautiful and totally not sexy. And a woman can be not very pretty, but have immense sex appeal.
Correct.
So it's just the individual, to be honest with you. And luckily, I'm pretty damn good at that. So.
Okay. So let's kind of talk about your personal life. So now that you are a stripper and you've decided, hey, I'm going to make a career out of this and do it as as long as you can.
Yeah.
How does that play with relationships? So I noticed you said, hey, I'm a single mom, but I'm sure guys are lining up to,
Well, I wouldn't even call
to take
myself.
you out and date you.
I wouldn't
So how
even
does
call
that
myself a single mom anymore since he's 25. So I'm kind of on my own now.
former single mom?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I always reference. I signed my soul to the devil. Financial security, or interpersonal relationships. You can't have both. You cannot have both. And I have tried and I have fought, I have struggled, and I tell these girls that are much younger, because again, I'm 41. So everything that comes out of my mouth is wisdom. It's experience. Like, I'm that old stripper that's like, listen to wisdom here, right? Like, I'm telling you, it doesn't work. And there's no, I'm as chill as a stripper as you're gonna get, honestly. I mean, I'm pretty normal, and relationships still don't work out for me. Why? The longest relationship I had was 12 years. I was engaged
That's a long time.
That's a long time. I was engaged to a police officer. It was not a healthy relationship. The way that he handled my job was that he cheated. So that's how he justified that. So the problem with relationships is this.
Let's talk about that relationship. So how did it start? Because you're already at the club. So obviously,
Well,
in
let's pretend you're a 20-year-old young stripper and I'm giving you this advice, okay? He was a customer of mine for 2 years. So I met him at the club. So
now, is that a no-no?
Yes, I was about to say that. So rule number 1, don't do that, because he already has an idea of who you are and what you are. So he's not in love with you. He's in love with the idea. He's in lust.
The fantasy, yeah.
Yes. So that's how it started. And then when we started dating seriously, it was always, well, she's going to college. During that time, I was going to college. So there was a goal in sight. So he was okay with that.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So the expectation was once she finishes school,
when she graduates,
she's done with that.
Right. So it's not a forever thing, right? And then I started to kind of.
Now, at that point, was that your goal as well?
Yeah, definitely. It still is. So at that point, he was okay with my job because of that. I look back at that and I think, wow, he was okay with my job. Well, should I have been okay with that you were a customer for 2 years? You know what I mean? So it always goes back to me. But again, I was young. I was 25 years old. And I saw him as a good role model for my son. My son was 9 years old at the time. And my family, oh my gosh, they loved him, right? Because they were worried about me, because at that time they were all very scared of what I did.
Now, family as in mom,
Mother,
dad?
not dad,
Okay.
mother, grandparents, sister, brothers, family.
Now, did they love him because, hey, he can possibly take her away from that career? And
That's what he represented to my
okay,
family.
absolutely.
Oh, knight in shining armor. He's a police officer. He doesn't drink. He doesn't do
He'll get her
drugs.
on the right
Oh
path. And
yeah,
yeah.
he was attractive. He was, steroidal. So he was the epitome of, what I should have been with at that point for people that cared about me. Like, thank God he's going to take her away. Surely she'll see the light now, right? But they didn't realize that that is just a representation of what I've gone through my entire life, where I'm always the bad guy because of what I do. And, the knight in shining armor isn't so shiny. But people don't see that because they are very good at pretending. I'm authentic. You see what you get what you see. That makes people uncomfortable a lot of times because they want me to lie. They want me to pretend, and I won't. So unfortunately, he fooled everyone into thinking that that's who he was. But anyways, that lasted for a good 12 years because, again, like when I mentioned before, when my really bad mistakes happened was when I was listening to everyone telling me what I do is wrong. So me in my head, he was cheating on me. He was not physically, but verbally and emotionally abusive. He was just a shitty human being. In my head, my logic was telling me, you don't deserve this. What are you doing? This isn't your personality. But my family was like, marry him. Everybody was like, oh, thank God you found somebody like that. And I'm thinking, wow, am I that shitty of a person that you guys are rooting for me off of the person that I'm dating? Like, I was feeling like shit at the time, you know what I mean? So, and it wasn't helping that not only was I feeling like shit because of that, but I was feeling like shit because he was deliberately trying to make me feel like shit.
So what was the cause of that? Was it just the job and kind of making you feel guilty about what you're doing?
Yeah, I fell in love with him. And I started to feel like what I was doing was wrong because I loved this person, so I thought. I loved this person, and it was wrong of me to be naked in front of strangers, to be giving dances and, and to be doing all the things that I'm doing. And, and I love this person? Like, that makes no sense. So this was the first time in my life that I was faced with a situation where I really had to sit back and kind of dissect my job. I never had to dissect my job for anybody, and this was the first time where I was like, whoa, dude, like, what the fuck, right?
See, and me personally, I think that that's wrong to make you feel that way because it wasn't wrong when you gave him a dance or, him,
Thank
what
you.
are you doing at the
Thank
club?
you. Yes.
You know what I mean?
That,
If it was so wrong, you would never have been there.
that statement right there is the epitome of how people view me, people treat me up until this point. I have a master's degree. I'm a good person. I gave people counseling, okay? I have no criminal record. I don't even drink, for crying out loud, you know what I mean? So, but yet people will look at me like if, holy shit, like if I'm this just pariah, you know what I mean? And that's where the relationships fail because I get these men that come in, right? And of course, the first thing they see, they're attracted to me. I don't always look, I don't have my bun in my hair, a bun, and looking with, sweatshirts and all that, So, I mean, I clean up quite nicely, right?
Yeah.
So, men first initially, they're intrigued. It's the lust, right? Like, holy shit, she looks like a porn star. And they're hooked for that reason. And then they talk to me, right? And then they realize that, wow, like, she's not stupid. Like I'm a pretty interesting person. I can carry a conversation. Like, I'm kind of funny sometimes, you know what I mean?
And articulate.
Right.
Wow,
So then they start to enjoy spending time with me. And then they're all confused, right? Because they thought, oh, this is going to be an easy lay. She's a stripper, you know what I mean? She looks like a porn star, so surely she is one, right? And then they get all confused because they're like, oh, wait a minute. I'm kind of starting to like her. And then they have this inner dilemma. And then they come to me all, with their talk, because I get this talk from every single guy I've ever dated. I really like you, Kimberly, and I just, your job, I know that's not you, and so how long do you think you're going to be doing it? How much longer? And they don't realize that that question offends me so much. I know where it's coming from, and I appreciate that you are starting to like me. But when you say that to me, what you're saying to me initially is, right now, you're not worth being my girlfriend. I'm not going to give you that title. But I like you enough to kind of wait and see it when you're done. And then when you become a social worker, a counselor, when you use your degrees, then at that point, then I can give you the title. Excuse the fuck out of me, but what makes you think I want that title? What makes you think that I view you in that, in that light where I'm like, oh my God, I'm so lucky, this guy wants to be with me. Let me hurry up and get my license and stop dancing. So I start to get angry. And this is where one of my character flaws. And the reason why I believe I'm still dancing is because I start to get stubborn and I start to get pissed off. And I start to think, you know what? I'm going to dance as long as I fucking want to dance. Am I asking you for money? Am I rolling around saying, oh, baby, will you please buy me that Michael Kors purse? I hate Michael Kors, by the way. But anyways, you know what I mean. So am I going around asking you to buy me shit, to take me to the expensive places? I mean, I'm not asking you for nothing but your time and your loyalty. And you're still going to throw that out at me? Recently, this was just really sad. I was, against my better judgment, I decided to kind of talk to some guy, right? I haven't
Not
dated.
a client.
No, not a client, not a client at all. I hadn't dated in over a year and a half, right? I kind of had just given up at that point. But this guy, he made me laugh, very smart, all that good stuff, right? So we kind of started hanging out. And I really liked him, and I felt that when I invite you to my house, right? You come into my home, I introduce you into my world, I give you my body, okay? My time, my effort, I drive to your house. Like, people just don't understand how reserved I am, how, I don't want to use the word selfish, but how selfish I've become because of how people have treated me. Like, it's all about me. So at that point, if I'm doing all that stuff to you, that is me showing you effort. Because a lot of people talk nowadays. They tell you the things that they want to do, but they don't show you. I'm a shower. I will show you what I can do.
So when you're committed,
I'm
you're all in.
committed. I'm showing you. My phone, always facing up. I had just bought this new stupid iPhone that was like ridiculously expensive, right? I'm still angry about that. But anyway, so he was showing me how to use it. You're going through my phone. Like, that is supposed to be like the oracle of all oracles, right? But you're going through my phone. If that doesn't show loyalty, I don't know what the hell does. You call me at any time, I pick up. I didn't know how much more exposed I could be for this person. So then he gives me attitude over a picture that I liked from somebody that I was with 4 years ago. And I remember sitting there thinking to myself, you're kidding me, right? You're kidding me.
You're giving so much, and then
I have
something,
given
so.
you more than I have given anybody in years. And you're giving me shit over a picture that I liked from a guy that I was with once 4 years ago. And I was so hurt by that, right?
Now, do you think that kind of came about because the insecurities that he may have kind of stays dormant given the profession? So it's like, hey, anything I see her do, it just kind of.
Well, I'm always going to lose. That's my
Correct,
point.
correct.
I'm always going to lose. And at this point, I feel like, look, I'm sick and tired of the you're different talk. Yeah, you're a stripper, but you're different. If I'm so fucking different, then why are your insecurities still popping up? Like, I'm always going to lose. It doesn't matter. Like I said, I gave this guy more than I've given anybody in quite some time, and he was still upset over something so minuscule, and even then, I was willing to talk about it, right? Normally in the past, I'd be like, dude, no, I'm not going to even expel energy on this. But because I liked him, all I asked was, I was getting ready for work. I need to be in a certain type of mental space before I go to work. Okay, I'm going to be dealing with a lot of energy and personalities. And
You gotta be on your game.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I asked him, not right now, okay? Not right now. Let me go to work, and then we'll talk later. And what do I get to that response? Fine. Go take care of your customers since you seem to care about them more. Wow. At that point, See, I'm like, again, I keep referencing to my age because my age is important. You're not dealing with a 20-year-old. You're dealing with a 41-year-old woman that has stripped for 20 years. That is educated.